Red Rising by Pierce Brown will most likely be the best book I read all year. Let's talk about it. Alright guys and gals, I finally broke down. I finally downloaded and listened to Red Rising. Now it's not like I'm being inundated with book recommendations. Feel free to fix that if you want to. I don't know what my hesitancy was. I didn't know anything about it. The other day I just clicked on it. All I know is it was wonderful. Just phenomenal writing all around. Pierce Brown, my goodness, is a master of his craft, and it is very evident when you open up Red Rising and get at least halfway into the book and you are just sold. For a semi-spoiler summary, don't worry, I'm not going to give too much away. Our main protagonist, Darrow, is a young man around 16 years old, and he, as well as all of the other Reds, is tasked with colonizing Mars. And by colonizing it, I mean preparing it for future generations, because Earth itself is apparently a dying world and they need to make sure that it is suitable for life by the time that Earth can no longer sustain it. He has a wife and a family around him, and though their lives are tough, being at the bottom of the caste system, they do make the most of their situation. Their intensive labor in the mines of Mars is paralleled with the celebrations, the dancing, the singing, the drinking, when it comes down to how they can actually carve out their own semblance of a life. This book takes so many twists and turns. Darrow, our main protagonist, gets to see both, obviously, the lowest parts and the highest parts of what can be imagined and even what can't be for Mars and the whole solar system in a nutshell. When it comes down to it, my first for this book, is the phenomenal writing. It really does just transport you there. When you're listening or reading, I can give a guarantee, if you're absorbed in the work, you really do see through the eyes of Darrow, experience the experiences he's going through to a lesser extent. Pierce Brown does a great job of just painting the picture that you just find yourself in, and that is probably why it's going to be one of my favorite books of the year. The second pro is definitely the plot and the themes. I think Pierce Brown hit every single note he needed to make this hero's journey, and I realize I'm giving a lot of positives here and no cons, because I could not find one within this book. At least it just very much spoke to me, and I can tell you, if you pick this one up, you are likely to have a new favorite book in your top 10. When it comes to the themes, we're going to be discussing them in the deep dive. I personally want to focus on 4 that I feel like are the most prevalent. So when you do read this book, feel free to come back to the video. You can check out the deep dive, see my thoughts on just the general storytelling of Pierce Brown, and then we can have a great discussion in the comments. So now we're going to go ahead and jump over to the deep dive. If you have not picked this one up yet, I implore you to give it a shot. The 4 themes that I'm going to be discussing in this deep dive is betrayal, family, justice, and vengeance. Starting out with betrayal, my goodness, this book is littered with it, and it's all done so artfully. I think the most prevalent betrayal of them all is between Darrow and Cassius. First and foremost, it was due to the fact that Darrow killed Cassius's brother, Julian, and the fact that he did not tell him once he had done it definitely led to consequences in the end, as we saw. But it was also between Cassius to Darrow when they had that duel in the snow, knowing that Darrow was substantially less of a fighter than Cassius was, And after everything they had gone through and been through, Cassius's pride would not allow him to continue breathing if Darrow was also doing the same. That was a tough betrayal, but out of that betrayal, we got a blossoming of a friendship and potentially a little more between Darrow and Mustang. Now, that was an interesting betrayal right there, I've got to say as well, when we find out that Mustang was actually also Augustus's daughter, aka sister to the Jackal. And even though she did not inform him of that information, she stayed true where Cassius did not, betraying Darrow. She actually gave Darrow the Jackal right in front of him and said, hey, you know, we're in this together. What we have is thicker than blood. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and jump over to family. That's a tough one because we only get to see him and his wife interact for the first couple chapters until she provides herself as a martyr. And a martyr she truly is. And this has set Darrow on the path of vengeance and making sure that the Golds suffer just as much as he did. With family as well, we have his uncle who actually allowed him and gave him the means to escape to the Sons of Ares. And though they had a very pained relationship, the uncle did what he thought was best, instructing Darrow with the dances, with the songs of their culture, as well as giving him another life, basically. And then we come to his actual relationships with the other schoolmates. You really do find yourselves becoming brothers in blood. At least that is what Pierce Brown definitely conveys throughout this book. Once you've gone to battle with someone, it's not just Pierce Brown, many others have said this, you really do grow closer than family. And that's why we have this really interesting situation that Darrow's in, where he has to betray the people that he has become so close to because they are Golds and he is just a sheep in wolf's clothing. Now, we'll go ahead and jump over to justice as well as vengeance. Now, this is a tricky thing because both themes are definitely there, and I feel like they are often intertwined within this series, and sometimes a just act is just an act of vengeance if a couple key things are changed. One, for instance, was Cassius being able to kill the other Red. He took all his emotion and gave that pain to the person he thought that killed his brother. And after that had happened, that was one of the first stones that stole Darrow's ability to lead his people. He had to learn to become a leader, and he was able to do that within the next trial that he had to oversee chapters and chapters later, when someone in his tribe ends up attempting and, I believe, succeeding in violating a young gal. He provides the punishment, which is the 20 lashes that I remember, but to appease his people and become the leader that they look up to, he actually takes 25 lashes himself, because as a leader should know, anything that his people do is basically himself doing the same thing. So he is taking the greater punishment there. And oh my goodness, Pierce Brown just killed it. Really, what sold this whole book for me was the final few chapters, when Darrow realized that it was a rigged game and the only way to win was not to play by their rules. And when they stormed Olympus and took and enslaved all of the proctors there, my goodness, it was masterful. And something else that reminds me of that I would like to mention is Darrow's trying to find the best way to be a Gold, because he realizes that the people above him in station when he was a Red are really taking advantage of the situation. He, as a fellow Red, and all of his people were basically enslaved, even though they were not knowledgeable of it. And now that he's being put into this game where that is an opportunity and really kind of encouraged action to enslave the fellow students, he is doing that, but then allowing them to regain their freedom through actions. And it was a very interesting way to build loyalty. Oh my goodness, I've just really impressed with this book and have just started reading the second. I believe that there are 6 books out, and I cannot wait to finish this series. All in all, those are my final thoughts. What did y'all think about some of the themes that I found? Did I leave any of the main ones out in y'all's opinion? If so, please let me know. If not, then let's discuss the ones I did mention in the comments. And I do appreciate all that you guys do for me with just checking these videos out. It really does mean so much. Thank everyone for your time. I hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of your week, and be sure to keep reading.